episode five, episode five of Real Coaching with myself, Dr. Ayo Olatoye, and my esteemed colleague,
Dr. Lewis Thomas.
Dr. Lewis Thomas. Have you got a fresh haircut, Lewis? You're looking
Yeah. I had a retwist
Oh yeah,
yesterday
nice.
and just got the
Okay,
sides shaved.
nice.
So yeah,
Looking
nice
fresh.
and fresh.
Looking lovely, as
Thank
we
you.
say
Thank
in
you for
in
noticing.
Nigerian English.
How about you? How are you today?
Today I'm good. I'm good. As you can see, I'm feeling, patriotic. I'm wearing my native.
Oh yeah.
Um,
What's that symbol on it?
so, funnily enough, it is a. Oh, we've got Chris free. Hi, Chris. Thanks for watching.
Hey, yeah,
Appreciate
Chris.
your time. So this is. It looks like like a drop of water, but it's a blood drop, and it's actually my initials. So my first name is Ayo, my surname is Olatoye. So it's A. Oh,
Oh, okay.
it's my
Cool.
it's my it's my native logo.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
and I Emma as well.
Emma's
Hi
here
Emma.
as well. Oh,
We've got
yeah.
Emma Leversley. Hi Emma Leversley. Thanks for paying attention. Appreciate your time. Yeah. So real
What we're
coaching,
talking.
two life coaches talking about Tony Stark's hero journey from self-centered guy, which none of us really wanted to be friends with, to the actual hero of the piece, self-sacrificing. And today we're talking about Iron Man 3, the movie. So I mean, do you want to go first about your opinions of the movie, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll do. So I guess for me, Iron Man 3 is kind of like the aftermath of the events of the first Avengers.
Yeah.
So, he's dealing with a lot of unresolved trauma from that experience of going through the wormhole. And he's kind of like dealing with a bit of vulnerability around that as
Mm.
well, and his suit, and he's kind of gone into this phase where he's building as many suits as possible to try and like protect himself and keep
Yeah.
himself busy, keep himself from kind of having to deal with that trauma. And I don't know, like the movie itself, it's like that's a very strong theme of it. It's
Yeah.
not like the typical superhero
Yeah. Yeah.
movies
Yeah.
that we've seen. Obviously, there's like a villain, with the oh, what's his
The
name?
Mandarin
The Mandarin, and the guy who's
and
like kind of
Killian from
Killian
AIM.
someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got them, but then it's kind of like it's more like a side kind of, it feels like a side quest rather than like a main quest. It's like
Yeah.
a side quest, like Tony recovering from the main quest before actually then going on to the main quest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's how I kind of like summarize it.
Yeah.
But
Very
it's
nice.
a very important kind of phase that he needs to go through, and there's lots of lessons that we can draw from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, so my opinions are legion. So the first one is I didn't like the film in terms of like as a superhero nerd geek. I didn't really like the film. I think it's the worst Iron Man.
Mm.
I think the I didn't really like the way that they played Mandarin, because Mandarin is a heavy hitting super villain, and they
Mhm.
kind of made him a nothing. Hi Linda, hi Linda, thanks for joining us.
I
Um,
like that.
I And so watching it again and looking at it through the lens of what can I learn, I think there are lots of themes. But in terms of did I enjoy the film, like not really. Um, in terms of superhero-ness, it's a very action-packed, but you're right in that it's more to do with Tony Stark than it is to do with Iron Man.
Mm.
And I think that's the yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Of all the Iron Man films, to me, this is the worst one. However,
Yeah.
in terms of life lessons, I think it's packed full of lots of stuff. And I was really interested in the point you were making about so Tony is having issues and trauma. And hi Sue Rain,
I
thanks
see.
for joining. Rather than deal with that, I have unresolved issues. He is doing lots of things and building armor,
Mm,
almost like to protect from the outside when the issue's on the inside. Now, as a coach, how often when we're talking to people, do you think that when they come to us with an issue, it might not be the issue? So let's say Iron Man or Tony Stark came to you at this time, his coaching question might be, tell me about the different kinds of armor that I could build because I need to protect myself.
mhm.
Whereas the core issue is more of an internal one rather than an internal one. Has that ever happened to you as a coach?
Yeah, I think it's really common that people are afraid to deal with that internal root issue,
Yeah,
and the actual presentation is something more, external or
yeah,
superficial. It's almost kind of like an excuse to
yes,
go and talk to someone
yeah,
because they
yeah,
know that through that the internal issue is likely going to arise, but there's a lot of vulnerability there, and I think it's kind of like testing the water a little bit
mm,
in terms of what they feel comfortable. It's like in GP as well. Lots of patients do it
mm,
um, when they have like a hidden agenda, and I think they want that sort of safe space to be able to talk to someone once they have that trust in place.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think with coaching, obviously, we're always going to be asking
questions,
questions,
yeah,
and using the intuition that we have to figure out, oh, what's really going on? Like, what are you really worried about here? Like, what is this armor representing?
yeah,
Why are you doing this? It's
yeah,
kind of like figuring out what the true purpose is. So yeah, I think for Tony, if he was gonna like come to a coach about, I feel like for him it would be more that he's not really in a position himself to ask for help.
yeah,
It's more likely that Pepper might come
yeah,
and say like he's acting out, like I need
yeah, yeah,
help. But how do you think it would be best to approach someone like that who is maybe not aware of the real issue that they're having and sort of is not going to be forthright about actually seeking the
yeah.
help?
I think it depends on the level of relationship with the person. So people that I'm close to, I can be more direct with, and they might say something, and I can say rubbish. That's not the real issue. I think the issue might be X. And I think depending on so if let's say it's somebody that you're not close with, and to be fair, I've used these skills with patients, and sometimes they've come and there's lots of symptoms, and
Mm,
we've done lots of tests, and we've thankfully, in terms of looking for organic pathology, we haven't found something that explains their symptoms. And I've said to them, sometimes when people have these issues, I might ask them, okay, so how are you sleeping? How are you eating? On a mood scale, would you consider yourself low, normal or high? All these things could be indicators of, something contributing to your symptoms, because I've seen patients who are dealing with X, Y, and Z, and the way that it presents is with the things that you've said. Do you think that might be um, relevant in your case and almost like teasing it? Because I think
mm,
with somebody that you know and you trust, you can be more direct and say the thing you're saying doesn't match what is actually happening. And because I love you, we can go directly to the issue. But with somebody you have to build trust with, I think it's
mhm.
it's worth maybe not leading them, but just giving them an opportunity to say that sounds like me, rather
Yeah,
than confronting them and say you're a liar. Because I think in those sort
yeah,
of situations, my experience is when people feel threatened, they entrench, and the issue it becomes harder to dig up, than anything else. I have a question for you. So in terms of Iron Man's trauma, and so Tony Stark, even without Iron Man, is this wonderful, big, larger than life character, right?
mhm,
he's had issues that he can't deal with, and it's bubbling up in the anxiety and all that kind of stuff. How is like in that? Um, let's say it's me. I am. Let's say I'm in a situation where people recognize me either at work or in family or in community. How do I deal with issues that I might have difficulty um, talking about in front of people? And how do I even know that I have an issue? Because do you think Tony knew? I think by the end of the film, he got to the point,
Yeah.
but at the very beginning, I think it was kind of like ethereal. He didn't know what the core issue was.
So I think he starts to get the physical symptoms,
Mm,
like he's having the panic attacks,
yeah,
and he is fortunate in that he has the computer system Jarvis to literally do like a full scan of his body
exactly.
and be
Yeah,
like, there's nothing wrong.
yeah,
And it's funny because like lots of patients or people who would be presenting with something they're not sure about or uncertain would want that kind of
yeah,
certainty. But he actually has the ability to, have that. And I think once he's kind of accepted that, it's a lot easier for him to then come to terms with it himself and realize, okay, I have this problem. It's not a physical problem, it's a psychological problem that I have to deal with.
yeah,
Um, that means that if I have to, go through some kind of therapeutic intervention, I have to do it. It doesn't matter whether the fact that people might judge you, or you may feel that your like status is somehow at risk,
yeah,
is not the biggest problem compared to the fact that you're having these crippling panic attacks. Like eventually, like someone is gonna like see you,
yeah,
and that ends up happening, when I think he's having panic attacks in front of the little boy that he
yeah, yeah,
meets
yeah,
when he's investigating when he's escaped that massive invasion of his house.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yeah, even with the little boy, he's like, "Oh, shut up, leave me alone. I'm fine, I'm fine."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And he just like keeps pushing and pushing him until he realizes, "Oh, right, okay, I just need to like accept that he knows and like get support from him."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and I think that that sort of mind shift change is the key really, so that it's not about, oh, people are gonna judge me and I'm gonna appear weak. It's more about I need to improve, I need to get better so I can actually draw support from other
yeah.
people once they know. If they don't
Absolutely.
know and I'm just trying to pretend to be like Iron Man, solid, I'm the king of the world, then it's just me suffering by myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he would go through that phase, and that's sort of the best way, I think, to go. Did you have any thoughts in terms of like that external judgment and
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
seeking?
Absolutely. So, I mean, before I say my thoughts, those of you who are listening live, have you guys had any experiences where to, you had a choice between saving face and getting help, and what might have been the issues that made you choose either one? So for me, I think so. I hear what you're saying. I actually think that I would use different language because for me, it depends on what you want. It's not for me to say you have to do this or you have to do that and stuff like that because everyone's got to make their own choices. My thing is that just be honest about what you're saying, about what you want. So, for instance, I can't say, do you know what? I want to be really, really healthy. I want to be really healthy and be here for a long time and stay with and be able to give my daughters away and play with my grandchildren. But I don't do any exercise, don't drink any water, and I just eat McDonald's every day. There are other fast food places available, by the way. But because my confession, the thing I'm saying, doesn't match with my action. So it doesn't really matter somebody else and saying you have to do this and you have to do that, because I've got to decide. The issue is, what do I want? I have to be
Mm.
honest with what do I want, and then I have to. So the master builder framework from a coaching point of view for me is take stock. So where am I, and take responsibility. Now, in a situation like this, I have to decide which one is more important to me. Is it more important for me to save face and don't talk to anybody or whatever, or is it more important for me to get better, whatever better means in my own head? Because I don't always think it's a zero sum game and it's and or, but I think that sometimes it's easier to think of it like that, and just say, um, even if it causes me to lose some status or whatever, I'm still going to be better. And for me, better is the more important thing. So I'm going to deal with whatever friction or inertia or potential embarrassment or whatever that I might feel, and walk in the direction of better, because this is what I want.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
think too often in life, maybe we're not honest about what it is that we actually want. So it's easy to be like, oh well, I'll derail it. I saw a video of a guy. He goes around high schools in America teaching kids entrepreneurship. And his example was, he asked the guy, "Oh, what do you want to be in life?" The guy said, "A business owner." And he said, "What if that doesn't work? Oh, well, I'll do this. And what if that doesn't work? Well, I'll do this. And what if that doesn't work? Well, I'll do this." And he was like, so not to shame the guys, like, well, it seems guaranteed that you're not going to be a successful business owner because you have a 4-layer backup plan. So because getting better sometimes is challenging. It is
Mm.
better, but it is challenging, even if it's just the fact that it's different to where I am right now. So I have to have the metal or the wherewithal or the resilience to say I'm going to push through
Yeah.
regardless, because there will always be a way to take an easy option, which is more comforting, but it keeps me in the position that I am now. So Chris has said,
Mm.
absolutely, men are not good at talking. It's about what is hiding behind the smile. Absolutely,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
And it's really it's really I enjoy sort of getting behind that and
Mm.
sort of reading between the lines when
Yes.
people are speaking as well. When you were just talking there about deciding between kind of whether you want to improve or whether you want to save face, um, the way I see it is it's kind of like a growth mindset and sort
Mm.
of long-term perspective or short-term perspective. And I think lots of people get in trouble in life because they are only seeing the short term and, those immediate rewards.
Yes.
Whereas when it comes to sort of like, I think, especially from Tony's point of view, he wants, long term to be successful. He already has that kind of level of success built up in
Yes.
his company and, his fortune. So he is aware that this problem that he's having now is something that needs to be solved because it's going to interfere with that.
Yes.
So um he's always gonna, it doesn't take him too long to kind of figure out, okay, I have like an issue here that can't be solved by simple means. It's something that I need to
Yes.
deal with
Yes.
in a sort of more of a psychological way. And that I think kind of leads to him accepting, um, you know, probably he's like forced into a situation as well, because of what happens at the end of the movie, in terms of like having to save, well, having to sort of deal with Pepper potentially,
Yeah.
dying and being at threat.
Yes.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, you see that? Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that happens, and then it forces him to reflect, and
Yeah.
through that reflection, he becomes aware of the way that he's been going about the situation is completely wrong.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what leads to him changing and basically recognizing, oh, this whole sort of Iron Man, multiple suits, just me going crazy in the basement making loads of stuff is
Yeah.
not, really
I'm,
the
I'm not
best
I'm not
way.
I'm not dealing with the issue. I'm just avoiding the issue.
Yeah.
We've got some comments here. Linda agrees with Chris. Emma says secondary gains from staying where you are usually based on perceived safety. Absolutely. It's human nature to go towards comfort and familiar and avoid discomfort,
Mm.
change or whatever. Oh, Emma said she can't hear you. I can say hello, Lewis.
Hello?
I can. I don't know whether.
It might be a delay.
Nate. Okay. Okay. But yeah. So
Unless it's
I think the
Can
thing,
you hear me now?
Emma.
Can you hear me now, Emma? Can you hear me as
I
well?
can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah. We'll keep going because I can. It might just be a glitch. But yeah. So like it's human nature, and one of the things that I remember like having conversations with people, and on more than one occasion, um, somebody will say some version of, but this is who I am,
Mm.
some version of either I can't change or this is who I am or whatever. And thanks, Emma, and
Thanks. Thank you.
my challenge back to them often in the coaching setting is no, so yeah, that's who you are. And like you can change. And so for me, this is one of the big issues I had with, let's say, therapy. I suppose I was scared. I didn't want to be a different person. I didn't want someone messing in my head. And I wake up one morning and white is black and black is white, and But what I realized with these kinds of personal developments and challenges is essentially I am myself 2.0. I'm a better version of myself, rather than I am a different person. An example I always get to people. So again, we're all of age now, and there was a time when you couldn't drive, let's say, or you couldn't ride a bike, and then you went through the necessary steps, which required some work and maybe some frustration and some discipline and some challenges, and maybe you got a coach who's a driving instructor, and you learned the framework of how to do all this new skill, and now you can drive. So you're still you, but now you're you with the ability to drive. And I always challenge people. So if you're in a situation where you say, well, it's just me,
Mm.
I am just an anxious person, or I always just react like that, and sometimes I can't have peace. And well, I would argue that all of these things is an accumulation of skills, and it's possible to sit with somebody and they can help you learn those skills, because if we weren't supposed to change, if we wouldn't didn't have the capacity to change, why aren't you in nappies today?
Exactly.
you know
I like that because it's kind of like so like however old you are now, you you didn't just suddenly it's like you didn't just suddenly wake up and
yes,
you're 34 years old.
yes, exactly,
Like it's not just like a change like that. It's like you're constantly changing
absolutely,
like all of the time.
yeah,
Which means that you can appreciate that the way you are now isn't fixed,
yeah,
and the whatever skills you feel that you like lack is something that can change and can be
absolutely,
improved. Because a
absolutely,
lot of people, when they're thinking about what they want to do in life and, setting aspirational goals, they hold themselves back because they're like, well, I don't know how to do that,
yeah,
or I don't have any experience in that area. And it's like, but you can gain it, you can
yeah,
learn, you can seek out people who can help you grow so that you change into the person you want to become.
absolutely. I was listening to a podcast or something the other day, and it was taking this concept and like, um being more intentional about it is basically saying, so a lot of us are in a situation where, oh, that's interesting. I'll learn more about that. That's interesting. I'll learn more about that. Oh, I have a challenge. I'll learn more about that. And what he was saying is that definitely do that. You have to be able to respond appropriately to the way that life is throwing things at you. And what have you ever thought about being intentional about your personal development? So let's say, think about who you want to be in 10 years. What skills does that guy need? That does that lady need in 10 years? Why don't you start learning them now? So you let's so and let's just say, especially for some of our young people here, let's just say it might take you 6 months to really concretize you've learned this skill. So that means maybe you can learn these two things a year, but in 2 years' time, that's four things. In 3 year times, that's six things. And if you and your peers aren't doing the same thing, you're now putting yourself head and shoulders in terms of personal development, in terms of the ability to deal with stress, in terms of being resilient, in terms of being desirable in the workplace. You've now put yourself, better than you were, but you're differentiating yourself from other people because they're not being intentional about, well, I want to learn this skill. So in a year's time, I'm going to be a guy who knows this. And even thinking about your future self, you think, oh, look, my goodness, he knows blah. And rather than think, well, how am I going to be there? Well, just start today. Make a list of the skills that 10-year future you would know, and start learning stuff and tick them off.
Yeah, yeah. I think sometimes it's difficult to create that structure for ourselves, for our own unique journey.
Yeah.
And then this says life is a journey. Like
Yeah.
we are moving towards something that no one else is.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we want. That's our unique purpose, which means we have to create our own plan.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people tend to get stuck into these kind of template paths, like particularly with medicine. You're going in as like a first year medical student wanting to become a doctor, and then you're in this program that enables you to develop all the skills that a doctor needs, and you don't have to think about it. It's just given to you, so it's very like passive.
Yeah.
But when you are wanting to do something that is like truly for you and unique to you, that's where the proactivity that you mentioning comes in. You have to intentionally create your own personal development path.
Yeah, exactly. It's your life. Whether you get a coach or a therapist or a mentor or whatever, at the end of the day, it's your life. And you bear the responsibility of the life being the way that you want it to be. Just like Linda said, I think, I mean, it's good to think about goals and stuff. I also think it's good to recognize that, my experience has been it's the person that I become on the way to the goals that is the most important thing, as opposed to necessarily, hitting the goals themselves. So back to the film. You said something to me about, at the end, you thought that he was giving up the Iron Man mantle and destroying all the. Talk to me a bit more about
Um, yeah, so he kind of had this moment of reflection in that he realized he was using the Iron Mans as defense to sort of not be Tony Stark and to kind of like protect himself. And I think that it was kind of like going back to what Cap was actually that's not happened yet, but it's oh no, it has.
that.
Like in the last of
Avengers.
in the last Avengers, Cap was saying like basically like, oh, you're a big man in a suit, like take the suit off and who are you?
Yeah.
And I think Tony's going through that kind of self-reflection.
Yeah.
And by the end of the film, he realizes who he is. He's spent most of the film outside of the suit because they were
Yeah.
damaged and stuff, and he
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
still able to use his own, mind and intellect
Yeah.
to get by. So yeah, I think for the sake of his relationship, especially with Pepper, that
Yeah.
is very important to him, which he realizes when she nearly dies. He decides that he's going to get rid of them, and I interpreted that as him not wanting to attract the kind of like enemies and stuff into his life that Iron Man has.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't know how you interpret it.
But I mean, maybe because of the fact that I know like there's gonna be more films. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, but what
like,
watching it in isolation, it's like,
yeah,
oh,
but
okay, that's done.
I take the point that he's kind of shedding the snake skin and shedding this kind of identity, you know, of the the suit is who I am,
Yeah.
and I think that's really important for everybody watching, and because it's like whether it's medicine or whether it's your job, or we all have different hats that we wear, and it's very easy for us to be like, well, this is who I am. I'm a doctor, or I'm a this, and I'm a dad, and all of those things are part of my identity, but I was somebody before I had any of these hats. So,
Mm.
who am I? Because I think it's the self-awareness and coming from a place, and life lived out of a place of um, self-awareness, I think is authentic. I think that's the place that you're really able to make the most effect. I heard some preacher saying like God can't bless who you pretend to be. So it's important for you to just be yourself, and it's really like if you listen to anybody who talks about anything in terms of like impact or whatever, or therapists or coaches and stuff, one of the things that they're all going to say is be yourself. Be yourself, because people are aware of inauthenticity. Wow, the comments are coming in now. So Chris has said, before I connected with my emotional self, I lived in a suit of armor and it created illnesses for me. Do you know what, Chris? I don't think you're the only
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
I think both Lewis and I have seen people who have come to hospital or come to GP and they're saying symptoms, and the symptoms are a sign of maybe where they are struggling in terms of their where they are mentally is contributing to their
Mm.
symptoms. Douglas has said continuous learning and never be afraid to relearn and adapt the way you learn. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm not a kid anymore. So it's important to just continue to develop and have an open idea of learning new skills. And I imagine it was scary for Tony because, like you say, most of his life he has spent being this larger than life thing. And the last
Mm.
couple of years, he's had life threatening experiences in the suit as Iron Man. And even if he's just putting it down for a minute, it must be scary to be like, so who
Yeah.
am I without the suit?
I think it's also um the actual incident in which he went through the wormhole and was
Yeah,
like he thought it was it was a near death experience for
yeah,
him. He had already kind of like decided this is it. And I think that is probably what has heightened his vulnerability
yeah,
and like hardens that suit of armor,
yeah,
even tighter because the vastness of space and
yeah.
just like being there like completely helpless
Mm,
is something I was gonna like mention. I've not got much time, but this isn't like he had trauma in Iron Man 1 when he was kidnapped.
yeah,
And the way that this is different is that I think in the moment when he was through the wormhole, he was completely helpless. He couldn't do anything to like help himself.
yeah,
Um whereas in Iron Man 1, he could. He was building the suit and I guess that comes back to the suit and
Yeah,
protecting
yeah,
yourself. And yeah, it's just a kind of comes back to this point of him always feeling like strong
yeah,
and protected.
yeah.
So
And
yeah,
who's to say that what happened in Iron Man 1 isn't contributing to his symptoms in Iron Man 3? In terms of
accumulation.
where
Yeah,
do we see him deal with it, emotionally, what happened in Iron Man 1? Who's to say? Linda made a point here. It's important to be protected and to have protection. Linda, I agree with you. And I think that if this would be, my last comment, because we're running out of time. I would like to introduce the concept of fortification. The word fortify means strength on the inside. And I think too often the framework that we use in life is an external, just like we say, Iron Man shield on the outside, rather than a fortification on the inside. So, um, be knowing who you are and having that strength on the inside is the thing that gives you the strength and the protection from external forces. It's the thing that helps you against bullying and people being nasty to you and stuff like that, because you're strengthened on the inside. The metaphor I always give is a roll cage in a rally car. So a rally car is, they're hurtling around corners and stuff. And if you've ever seen a rally car crash, it often looks really, really traumatic. But if you've ever seen a camera on the inside of the rally car during the crash, I watched a video where the guys were crashing and the inertia was making them knock back, and one of them even scratched his head because in the roll cage they were safe. And the analogy is life is gonna life. You're gonna sometimes fall off the edge or whatever, but having fortification on the inside and having a real clear understanding of who you are is the thing that protects you when life throws you over the edge and rolls you down the cliff. So because imagine what would happen to those drivers without the roll cage. It's the same thing that happens without that fortification on the inside. So that's, my last thought. What about you, Lewis?
yeah. Well, okay, I can talk about all day. Um, yeah, I will just leave it at the kind of whole idea of this Iron Man suit
Mm,
and the it coming back to the identity and sort of trying to figure out who you really are on the inside and not relying on a suit of armor to protect you
yeah,
is something that's really important, I think.
absolutely.
And it's hard, and it's a case of being vulnerable and doing lots of self-reflection, but over the long term it's going to really benefit you, and you'll be much more powerful and much stronger person because of it.
Absolutely. So thanks everybody who's watching live. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your contribution. Um, and those of you who are watching, because this is going to be made available on YouTube, again, we implore you, please like, please comment, please share, because it helps the channel grow. In both settings, we're going to put a question in the comments that we want you guys to engage with. So please keep the conversation going. We'll see you next week on real coaching. So I am Dr. Olatoye and my colleague.